Brandy Pet.
Welcome. It's me, Brandy P, with the Yes, I Am the Veteran podcast. I do apologize. I know we have it a little earlier today, but I just couldn't resist having an amazing former guest on, and she's quite busy lady, and so I wanted to make it work. Isn't that what we do? Like, suck it up, buttercup? Isn't that still a thing in the military? But absolutely, I hope everybody is doing great, and if anything, this is an interesting podcast. Now, it's been about, 2 years since the last time you came on?
Yeah, it's about 2 years already. I think, just last time I was just talking about the launch of our Battle Buddy app.
Yeah, it was. I just moved to Veteran Trash Talk for a brief period, and then I decided I'd go on my own. So it's been a wild journey since that time, and I'm curious to see how things have changed. So I know some of the questions we've asked in the past, but it's always news to me because I forget things. So don't mind me. But go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody that may be not knowing who you are and maybe what branch you're in.
All right. So hi, everybody. If you're on Instagram right now, I'm Donna Quach, and I'm a licensed marriage family therapist in Burbank, California. I'm also an Army veteran medical officer. Served for about 10 years. And so, and just really, again, I was kind of bummed that I had to separate, but during that time, I was also starting my nonprofit too, as well, during COVID. And so, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And you're the founder of the You Matter Not Alone Foundation, is that right?
Yes, I am. That was the charity that, that I started back in 2018. And it really started with the idea of just really being able to go into the schools, military installations, and, be out in the community and for people to take us seriously. Because I do have a private practice. And so we get a lot of our kiddos, our teenagers coming in and talking about suicide as a coping skill. And so I just felt like there needs to be more education, starting even just as early as elementary school or, kindergarten. So we weren't taken seriously as a private practice. So that kind of launched the nonprofit You Matter Not Alone. And because I was still in the military at that time, the suicide rate continues to be high in, with this certain demographic. And so it also branched into that too. So.
And what's kind of like alarming me a bit, especially with all the statistics, is that they found that the 22 days is actually not an accurate number. They feel it's probably almost twice that, if not more, especially with COVID and like the issues with domestic violence, abuse, all kinds of different issues that could have happened in that time. And it's really just, for me, I just wish we could take better care of our brothers and sisters in arms, just because of the fact that, a lot of times the veteran community, post-traumatic stress is no small or laughing matter. And if you're able to really just help reach out and make a difference, like, all of that power to you. And I know with the You Matter Not Alone Foundation, we founded it due to that issue. What was the biggest stigma that you guys found that you had to overcome with the founding of the nonprofit, or even just having people take you seriously?
I think, when you have the word suicide, as part of your, nonprofit, people there's still that stigma right there where it's not really it's not to a point where you can just come out and just have a normal conversation about it. And so when we were going into the schools and asking the schools that we can talk about suicide prevention, there was a lot of taboo and there was a lot of pushback, mainly because on their end is more liability. But also on our end, we really explained to them that, suicide is definitely very present. It's also becoming epidemic, and kids as young as maybe 7 or 5 years old are already aware of what it looks like to have someone take their own lives. And so we got a lot of pushback initially, and when we went to COVID, we weren't really going into the schools, so everything was done virtually. But we still have to fight our way in terms of explaining to, other facilities why it's important to be able to talk about suicide a little bit more freely, and really removing that stigma because it's very present.
Yeah, absolutely. Suicide, like, people that are, having that suicide ideation, really, like, it's not one specific demographic. Like, they don't have to be young, they don't have to be old, they don't have to be black, they don't have to be white. It happens in all demographics. And what's horrifying, especially with the rise of school shootings and mass shootings. You, kids that are actually getting training, like anti-terrorism training, that I remember doing similar uh, things in training in like 2008. And I remember thinking, like, if I ever have kids, I would hope they would never have to do this. And now, like, I'm seeing my daughter do these for like school drills, you know, and I'm having to explain to her, you know, you don't make sound, you know, you're quiet, you know, but that wears on somebody. And I mean, people really don't realize like the emotional toll. A lot of things that a lot of people deal with really have it impacts them like in the daily basis, truly. And I apologize that I'm not talking quite right. Like my eyes are like the color of fire right now. I apologize. But what made you specifically want to create the Battle Buddies app?
Well, being a veteran myself and just knowing our demographic, there is a really high suicide rate. 17 a day, it can be easily 22. When we were in COVID and from 2020 to about 2023, I mean, we saw a high, rise of suicidality, mainly within our demographic because of more of the isolation, more of just not being able to connect with others. And just feeling all alone and not being able to have that support system there. So we definitely do see an increase during COVID. But I started the Battle Buddy app because a lot of my veterans, we take in about 90 to about 150 quarterly and veterans from the VA.
Wow.
And so we provide treatment for them, advanced treatment like EMDR, advanced therapy work, to really address combat trauma and, anything else that comes along with deployments and mental health in what I call invisible wounds. And so what I was noticing was that they were not reaching out when they were depressed or having, suicidal thoughts. And so because this demographic is so high, that kind of ignites, many ideas in my head. And one of them was the Battle Buddy app. A lot of times we would encourage them to reach out to the 988 suicide hotline. So that wasn't happening. And then I started a group chat on WhatsApp. That wasn't working too as well. So I tried many different avenues. So it really got to a point where the Battle Buddy app was probably the best approach, to really address the suicide among our demographic. I mean, I'm fully aware that I cannot cure suicide, that I'm not going to be the one that eliminates that because it's epidemic. But at least if I can know that I can be a source and our matter can be of help to anybody who is going through a difficult time, and that they can just press a button and they would be connected with our mentors who are veterans to support them during a difficult or challenging time. I'm all for that.
I love that you do that, and I truly like I admire the attention to detail that you put into the app, like having females counselors available for women suffering MST or anything along those lines, or if they're just not comfortable because of those past experiences. But you have many times they're veterans and they're females as well, and they're readily on staff, and they're absolutely trained, and they're having like the best success because of the fact that they're really offering what's needed.
Yeah. And
Do a
I
lot
think
of I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. So, even the app also has resources on there too. But yes, kind of going back to, in terms of if you're a female and let's just say you're calling and you only want to talk to a female mentor, you also have that selection, whether, you can choose the gender, whether it's female or male. Oh, and we also have, we're very LGBT friendly too as well.
Awesome.
We also have that team, working together to support our veterans, whoever calls in. We're available 24/7, 365 days out of the year. And it's just within a press of a button. And it's just wherever you're at within the United States, just press that button. We're here for you. So
I'm here for it. And people use Battle Buddies in all kinds of things, but I mean, you're really using it in a way that it's what it's meant for. Like your battle always has your six, and having that, and it's something to easily remember because I know my memory is terrible. So I think that's great app to have, and that's something that's like you can go to like the Apple Store and download. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you have an iPhone, you can go to the Apple Store and download it. It's free. And then if you have an Android, you can go to your Google Store and you can download it. And once again, it's free. It's free for all active service and veterans. It also has a resource, page that they can go on there and look for services nationwide, whether it's from housing, financial support, gosh, any kind of social outlets, activities, and things like that that they want to engage and develop that social support is readily available for them.
And I love that you guys have that. And I think it's really needed. And a lot of us, we do the suck it up buttercup. We wait till it's far too late to say anything. And then it's a much more difficult to fix problem rather than, you say, hey, I'm having this issue. And I think a lot of that stems from persecution by chain of command. So your app itself, does it report to the chain of command?
We don't report to the chain of command. We have nothing to do with DOD, nothing to do with the military. We do go onto the military bases and talk about the Battle Buddy app, and we do promote it on Instagram and on Facebook and any kind of social media. We're out in the community a lot. I do a lot of like podcasts and interviews and things like that to kind of push it out there. And so it's something where it's private too as well, unless there is a suicide involved where they're actively having a plan. Then we do make sure that they are connected with proper resources, to ensure that they're safe. And then within 30 days, we do follow up with them to make sure that whatever service or whatever referrals that we provide for them, that it gets executed.
And that's important too, follow up, because a lot of times, we'll reach out, but, we don't like that therapist, or we forget, or we're embarrassed. And a lot of times we don't follow up, and we should, because a lot of times, you can't break something overnight. That's not a fair expectation. And, it's not to fix you and make you perfect as new, because, at the end of the day, you have to have realistic expectations. But I think that it's great that you offer the services over time, and they're not being charged to use this app, especially a lot of people that are in need. And a lot of us, like we're at like the red line basically when we reach out. And that's something that we definitely need to get better at, being our own best advocates as well.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the things I want to say that, our Battle Buddy app is unique in a way where the minute the call comes in, it's within 1 to 2 minutes, and it alerts all of our mentors and even mine, and my clinical supervisor's phone. And so within 2 minutes, we get to that, that individual, if it's something where it's not a crisis, maybe 3 minutes at the most.
Wow.
Because it's essential with time, and so sometimes when someone is in crisis, we really just need to get to them immediately. It's not like an hour later, it's not like 2 hours later. I've had, times where I need to call the police, or, and they're like, we'll get back to you. That's the difference between our app that really just stands out. And, it's like within 2 minutes, I would say sometimes less than a minute,
Wow.
we'll get to that person right away.
And again, guys, that's the Battle Buddies app. I have it at the bottom of the page. So I definitely recommend everyone to check it out. You never know when it may help save your life, or help you out of a dark place, or someone right? And then we're, as veterans, like, we should be more forthcoming with things that are helping the veteran community, or they're accessible to them, because a lot of people have no clue about things. Like like, not saying in general, but they don't know programs. Like, I myself didn't know about some programs. I'm very thankful that with my podcast, I get to meet so many amazing people. But I like to always share that information, because it's important to do that, instead of just like, we kind of bogart sometimes resources where it's like Smaug in The Hobbit, it's just on the gold mountain, it's not, you should be giving it freely. We should not have expectations, and it should be something that's absolutely, we are able to help our people. It may not be us counseling, because, not all of us are trained for that. And I think it's amazing that you are training these counselors as well, because if you get your licensure or your certification in being a counselor, there's many different types of counseling that you can have. And so for you, what is something when you launched your app that was surprising to you?
Oh, I think I would say surprising. I don't think anything is really surprising for me. This had I put a lot of thought into this, and over the last 10 years in working with our veterans and being a veteran myself. So nothing is really surprising for me in terms of, our veterans feeling safe to use this app because everybody's a veteran. Everyone has served.
I love that.
So, so no, so nothing has been really surprising for me. I think that, we hope to serve more, maybe go beyond, outside the United States. So I think the only thing that I would say challenges is just being able to go globally, because we know that there are armed forces, families and
Yeah.
things like that we definitely want to expand, and beyond the United States. So I would say more challenges. I wouldn't say anything is surprising to me because it's been great. There's been quiet days and there's been really busy days with veterans calling in. So
Is there a certain time of the year? Because I know studies I've read about it, but is there a certain time of the year that you find veterans are more in crisis or service members than usual? Like, not saying that it's
well,
1,000% fact, but in your opinion.
yeah, this would say, just being, a clinician myself, I would say during the holidays, is probably the most difficult time, and what's really going on around the world right now in, Israel. So we have a lot of veterans being triggered by, the war going on there. So I would say, holidays, and, I think with recent, months or so, with the war going on in Israel, that has really triggered our veterans. That's causing them to reach out more to us. So,
It, like I said, I just think it's amazing that you have it 24/7. I know many people, their hours are, they've got what, maybe 8 or 12 hours of the practice being open. And then, sometimes they have emergency lines, but you could be waiting hours or longer potentially to get that. And you guys have it within minutes, which, I mean, I know I've had situations with veterans in crisis, but again, I'm not a licensed counselor. I was a medic, not the same. But he was in active crisis, and I did not believe that I was going to make it to him in time if I drove it. And so I was very thankful that we have a therapist that works with our podcast as well, Miss Ellie DeBay, and she was able to talk him down. And I ended up mailing him I had like one extra alpha stimulator device. And
mm-hmm.
so I had sent that to him. And, she was even saying, like, had I not called, like, that would have been most likely successful. And
Yeah,
so,
I think at certain times, the essence of time in terms of how quickly we reach out to them is crucial. And so that's kind of why, our app really stands out and it's a little bit more different than most of the stuff, because there are other things that's very similar to our Battle Buddy app that is out there, but most of them is a link onto the website, and you're going to have to call in like that, and use that nine digit number, or things like that. So, and not everybody's live too as well. So you're talking to a computer operated, really speaking to you with different prompts. And I don't know, again, it's doable, but I think, our app is also human contact too. It's a one-on-one peer contact that you actually have a voice that's not robotic. That is really someone has served in the military, is a veteran, knows what they're going through. With anybody calling in and using our app, because we know they're military. So
and like I said, like high five. I want to give you a high five. High five. I love that you really thought of veterans, to the nth, and like little things that probably were like your pet peeves in clinic or practice, and you created something that was entirely different. And I remember when it first launched, like I was kind of curious, and I loved all like the advertisements that you guys have on your page on Instagram, and I love that it's going to be growing internationally now. Because I remember it
Well,
was just hitting.
it's not going internationally because we don't have that
Oh,
manpower.
okay.
So right now it stays within the United States. And I think right now, in the near future, we will
In the
go
future.
globally. It's just we just don't have enough manpower. So, but so that's one of our challenges, is to really, and the way that we also kind of really weed out our mentors. I mean, they really have to be able to want to and be consistent and to deal with crisis, because a lot of times the calls come in and not every single veteran can deal with being a crisis counselor, as I guess you can say. And so it's just, finding those good ones that are willing to commit and can deal with crisis. I mean, our process of being, for someone to be a mentor, we do have certain expectations. And so that's kind of why, at this point in time, we're still within the United States, and I want to expand globally, but it's not until we find some really good mentors, to make sure that we can fit that capacity right there.
Absolutely. And so for anybody that's listening out there that may be interested in being a counselor, seeing what the requirements are, where would they go to sign up?
Well, they can just go onto our website at youmatter-notalone.org, and they can just, fill out a form out there that they want to be a mentor. They have the requirements that they need to be a veteran, or still active duty. You can serve, but and then they have to go through the interview and do some training with us first, and then so that there is an interview process, and then there's a training process too.
Awesome. And so I'm pulling up the page now. So again, guys, it's https // you matter hyphen dash notalone.org for anybody that may be listening today. And also, this is the page that you can go to if you want to learn more about this amazing nonprofit. Mm-hmm. And if you want to maybe see what the requirements are to be a counselor. I mean, for people that have experienced trauma or gone through a lot and are still going out of their way to like actively help, you definitely have my utmost respect, because it's not easy and a lot of people don't do that. But it's so needed and desperately now more than ever.
Yeah. I think, we have other projects where we're trying to launch a documentary, on mental health, and making sure that we pull the country together to really support, and that includes not other nonprofits, other companies, to really just, again, work together to support our America's defenders, our heroes, our warriors, and their families. Because without them, I mean, America's a great country. We got lots of freedom, but it's because of our guys here, our military armed forces, that really sacrifices their life and to protect us. And so, it's important that we give back too. And I'm just such a firm believer. I come from a military family, and we have to do everything we can to also be able to protect them. And a lot of times, I feel like there's still a disconnect, and that's something that the documentary, we're working on, getting that funded. And then also we have a podcast that, that's going to be launched soon called Elevate Your Authentic Self.
Yay.
There will be that part where we're talking about, the Battle Buddy app. It's for the general public on mental health. But, we're also going to be focused on certain segments on our veterans and our armed forces, because it's so crucial. I just, even if I wasn't a veteran or didn't come from a military family, it's just the debt that we owe them is just not, replaceable, right? We can't, pay them back enough. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of us, we're so traumatized by the fact that, we may have to go to mental health, and it's like a career ender, and you'll do anything to tell everyone you're fine. I remember working the lines for deployments, and when they would do the screenings, it was very common that, things would be fudged. And, I know them enough where I'd be like, you put what's in there. So if you need to claim something for it later, you have that record. If you say no, and try to put it on your separation or retirement physical, they're going to laugh in your face. I know I've seen it done many times, because that was one thing that I did. And, it's the notes that are from mental health, that are from family practice, specialty care providers, community care. Having these notes in your record, that makes an absolute difference when you get out and you're applying for VA benefits post service. So, get seen, go, use your resources. It's not mental health is not a 4-letter word. PTSD is a 4-letter word, but it's not the same. But at the end of the day, we definitely want to be our own best advocate. For me, I'm definitely not perfect myself. I have severe PTSD. It's actually the reason I created this podcast. was because I had to go on stage for Miss Veteran America, and I was afraid that I'd have an immediate panic attack because of my scars. And I've been called a monster and all these horrible things in the past. I don't have normal issues that a lot of veterans would have because of the fact that I was in England. And then what happened, my experience is it's very hard to relate to other veterans that understand because it's so wild what happened. And I'm actually working on my book right now. I'm actually a best-selling contributing author in the Library of Congress. My book is in now, The Art of Connection. Uh, and right now I'm working on my autobiography because of our amazing Miss May. So, I mean, you can do all kinds of things when, even if you have mental health issues, don't think that all you have to do is isolate from your friends. Don't talk to anyone, pull the blinds, do help yourself, and get that information, reach out to your friends. And if they're struggling, you know, try to help them get to someone that can help them. The Battle Buddies app is a phenomenal resource, and I feel like it's vastly underutilized, and it's something that helps so many people.
I have to agree, Brandy. And, just kind of a little note, I know that you're interviewing me, but I just want to tell you how proud I am of you too, as well, in terms of how well you advocate for our veterans and for our armed forces. And so we need more of you, of course. And there's many out there who is also, advocating for our veterans. And I think this is the main goal in terms of really, pushing things out there and really even letting our veterans and our armed force family know that it's okay to not be okay, that it's okay to ask for help. We don't always have to be the strong one. We can also be vulnerable and really, be aware that we do need help and that it's okay to ask for help and to participate in therapy, to go get medical help.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say it's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to suffer in silence. I don't know if that makes entire sense, but I mean, I feel it kind of pertains to a lot of people that, are deathly afraid. It's even out of the service that they're going to get court-martialed or something's going to happen to them. So I often say it that we are on best advocates, and, absolutely, it's an honor to have you back on. I didn't mean to go off on my own tangent, but I like to tell people, or especially our viewers, that a lot of times people assume, especially in social media in this day and age, that you have to be perfect. You can have no flaw. And then you see these stories where the person kills themselves and they're like, well, they look so fine, but they probably weren't fine. There was probably a lot of things that you didn't realize that were happening that you missed. And for us, especially right now, it's a stressful time. If you need mental health, you need counseling, if you just need guidance or just someone to talk to, do it. Reach out. It's important. That 22 a day, it's not going down, you guys. So we need to be stepping up more to support our sisters and our brothers in arms. And for Donna's case, if you guys are interested in being a counselor, it's amazing work to be there for someone when they truly need you. I did that mostly in the military. But Donna's doing it while she's in the military and, helping all the veteran kind. That's awesome. And it's truly needed and very much appreciated. And being full-time active duty and doing something so large and massive, it's not an easy feat. How do you find the hours in the day?
That's a really good question, Brandy. I do my best. And so I have a lot of volunteers who help me, who are amazing. And they're my veteran mentors too, who is always readily to step in, to help me whenever I need them. I have an amazing clinical supervisor, Dr. Abram, who also is, again, kind of, runs things when I'm busy with my private practice or when I'm traveling. But I want to kind of break down a little bit. We talk about that it's okay to not be okay. One of the biggest, mental health decline that I see when working with our veterans is that they're really great at compartmentalizing things. Like, what I mean by that is suppressing their emotions, their pain, the hurt, and shove it down, and just, again, the word compartmentalizing. And that's also been told in the, with our military institution that, when we get back to garrison, we will provide mental health support for you. So just put it aside, just compartmentalize it. You'll get the help. And when they get back, it's just, and then applying for the VA, that's another process in itself. And they're on the waiting list for 3 to 6 months,
At
before
least.
the help that they can. And by that time, their box is full. They've been compartmentalizing, what survivors' guilt, moral injury, uh, loss and grief, things like that. That it just gets
Transitioning is stressful too.
yeah, it's very difficult. And so and that's kind of where it leads to the suicide part right there. And then loss of identity. It's like you have an E8 or an E7 who is in charge of maybe, $1 million plus of logistics. And when they come back, and let's just say they separate from the military for whatever reason, medical, reasons, it's a loss of identity, and that also leads to suicide. Everybody is always assuming it's PTSD, yes, but there's also factors too of loss of identity, and then also, just really the lack of support of mental health care that the VA, it's not fast enough, or act with urgency to support our veterans when they do come back.
Yep, absolutely. I really believe, because I used to have to do all like the in processing, out processing for like the shot lines or deployment lines. I really think that they should automatically like schedule them and like insist on a service member that's returning from a deployment to see that someone that is trained in specifically like the area that they may have been deployed to, or they may if it's a female, etc. But at the end of the day, like I mean, MST can absolutely happen downrange. And a lot of people are so terrified to say anything. They won't self-identify. And, it's usually like years and years later, they have no supporting documentation to back up any what happened. And I mean, you could absolutely file that way. I've done it and helped and been successful with veterans, but it makes it so much harder. And, when you're deployed and you're coming back, you really need to, speak about what you saw or what you experienced while the iron's hot and not have to worry about the reprisal that would come with, at least like letting people know you're not okay. I need help. That shouldn't be something that's never held against a person, but unfortunately it's done too often in the veteran in service world. And
well, yeah, absolutely, Brandy. And the thing is, again, we already have such stigma against mental health, and the military has gotten a little bit better, but it's still far from, being, good.
where it should be, yeah.
Yeah. So we have a long ways to go. But I think when we're talking about military sexual trauma, one of the reasons from my clinical experience, working with our veterans, is that there's a lot of shame and guilt involved. Yes. And then when you speak up about it, you're questioned about it too as well. And because we're a female, I mean, I've never been, I've never have experienced that, knock on wood. And I would never, impose that or, I mean, feel bad that has anyone who has experienced that. But there's a lot of shame and guilt. And then, speaking up about it, you get questioned. And I mean, kind of going back to what I'm saying as a female, I mean, if I'm going to come out and share with you someone who has abused me or, sexually, touched me inappropriately or forcefully, it's just, it's very difficult. It really takes your own self-identity away from you. It's painful.
And the loss of self-identity is a huge issue in the military. I know I was hit with it extremely hard when I was forced to retire. After triple limb salvage, I had a domestic work violence kind of situation with an unstable supervisor who was talking to people that weren't there. She was like assaulting me on the floor. She was trying to jump over tables to fight me. She would threaten to burn my house down with me in it. And she meant it. And, instead of helping me, my leadership covered it up. I mean, my local leadership, not like commander level. He just altered my medical records, but no. I mean, like locally, like it could have been taken care of there, where they're like, they had her focus on mental health, and getting better because she was suffering through a divorce and she was taking her medication, and she just went, very much on a manic kind of tear, and it was very hard for her. And I mean, I literally almost died from it. I had a triple limb salvage, and it was because she would purposely ignore arterial blood clots. So that's a loss of sense of identity, because being a medic and a teacher was absolutely who I was. I lived and died by it. And so to not even be able to walk anymore, and to be mobile, it really made things exponentially more difficult to get out, especially when they're, forcing you to retire. Nothing feels like it's your own decision. And, it hits people hard. And I can absolutely understand people like attempting suicide due to that loss of identity. And it's not just in the military. I mean, really, it's all over the place. But I mean, we were even talking about it. We had our favorite Rosie come on, Miss May Cryer, and at 97, she sat down with us for 3 hours on a podcast. And I had a combat veteran that was with me, that was a female, and she does all our amazing podcast work, Miss Cecilia Marie. And when she was explaining to May, or her and I were talking about, the issues with, women service members and MST, and the other issues they face, she had no idea. Like, she thought that, like, they went to war and they fixed it. Like, women were treated better in the service. And because, when you're DV, like, they only show you the good parts of the base, right? They don't show you, like, things that need to be corrected. So at the end of the day, it's absolutely something that it's crucial that it's talked about, and if people need that help, there should be absolutely no reprisal in asking for it at all.
Yeah, and then when you're asking for help, it's like then there's a delay help, when you're going through the VA, and getting trying to get service connected and getting the mental health and the medical care too. So there's many different layers, and absolutely I agree. There's many factors in terms of our veterans, the stigma of getting help, and then the in the delayed response, the urgency, for our veterans to get the care, and it adds into the high suicide rate. But I
Yes.
feel like just present day and moving into the future, I just feel like our country is still very divided in terms of really bringing everybody together and just really supporting and giving their all and being America's biggest supporter for our defenders, our warriors, our heroes, and their families. I think we need to unify with this. It should just and it's something that I see that there's a big disconnect, for many years. And I always ask myself, like, if I wasn't a veteran, if I didn't come from a military family, would I be this active in serving and continue to provide care for our defenders? And the answer is yes, because it allows us to have that freedom. It allows me to have the lifestyle that I lead every day. It allows me to leave my house and not be fearful that things are going to be blown up in front of my face or blow me up.
Yep.
So
And just dealing with triggering in general, because of the fact that you don't always like, you may think it's X, Y, and Z, but you will always find new things that trigger you in public. Like, I know that's an issue that I have, because you think about it, like, oh, I got this in check. I see my people. Like, no, you can still absolutely have issues, but it's important that you have resources for when you do have those issues or instances come up. And having those resources, having like a place that you can go. There's a suicide hotline, of course, but there's also the Battle Buddies app, and it's veterans that are trained. And Donna's like no slouch. Like, she's extremely detailed and particular and what they're taught. I know she's been amazing with people that I've sent to her to have trained. I don't know if they actually did it or not, but either way, like, it was an awesome training program we had set. And, it's something that I'm thankful for, because I know we were having issues with tattooers that were getting a hard time, for people that were saying basically that, are any of you trained to work with people with post-traumatic stress? If not, you need to stop advertising that, et cetera, et cetera. And I mean, to an extent, they had points, but at the end of the day, like, there's no hard and finite rule, but it is important to have people that are versed. So if someone were to trigger, it could be immediately de-escalated, because they tattooed the most at expos. And that's a hugely densely populated area. And it's going to put most like combat veterans a little bit on edge as it is, but adding more to that, it could potentially make it a more difficult experience. And I think that a lot of people, they stigmatize post-traumatic stress or suicidal ideation, or, MSTs, is you have to have a certain type. And there isn't. You can be all different kinds of you can be suffering all kinds of things, and no one would ever assume it. And I mean, like, the fact that you're telling me about 7-year-olds, even 6-year-old, you would never imagine a child like 20 years ago, like 6, with suicidal ideations. But it's absolutely something that's going on, especially with like in the era of cyberbullying. it's on steroids, and it's a lot easier to have things go viral. Like imagine like if back when we were in 7th or 8th grade, like we wielded the internet power that is now easily accessible to like our kids.
Yeah, I mean, suicide rate, especially within the United States, is as young as 10, and I do believe that that age is still, I mean, it's going as young as 8 years old now, and it's the 10th leading cause of death in the United States, and the children are becoming younger and younger, and so it's epidemic. It's something that I do believe that is preventable with more education for the parents, for the schools, for the kids, and that I mean, we should be able to talk about it more freely, and
Yeah.
this is still there's still that taboo right there, and then linked to mental health. I just got a call yesterday from one of my kiddos' mom, and I guess his sister told their group of friends at school that his brother is in therapy with me, and he comes home,
Aw.
he's literally crying because he's so embarrassed, and they're teasing him and things like that. And that breaks my heart, because I sit back and go, well, what if you had a broken foot,
Yeah.
and the kids knew that you were going to see a doctor for physical therapy,
Yeah.
to help heal your foot. Would that be would the kids react the same way, and would you react the same way? So as you can see, and he's only 11 years old, and his sister's 8.
Aw. But I mean, honestly, like he's getting good practices and habits in when he's young. And I mean, that's important. So people need that help. They know that there are resources available. I know one thing when I was a medic that always blew me away with like successful suicides was how a lot of times it was like money, like relationship, or last family, or it was like always things that if you spoke with someone, that it absolutely could have helped prevent it. It was like something that were like fixable situations. Like they may have looked dire at the time, or severe because of massive stress. But a lot of people, they don't realize like many of these completed suicides. These are things that could have been absolutely fixed had they reached out to someone. And unfortunately, we find that too late.
Yeah. And I think, again, it really just goes back to psychoeducation, more awareness, prevention, and even just teaching the parents what are some of the signs. And there are cases that is just, I mean, you might have a teenager, you might have a young adult that is adamant or has a history of suicide ideation and suicidal plan. And those type of people, again, if they're that determined, they'll eventually do it. But I think, and that's also a very hard case too as well. And when we're talking about our own demographic, which is our veterans and our armed forces, part of the reason why it's just as high is because, I mean, it's just they're adamant about that too. I mean, obviously it's important to get the help, but man, it's just, it's just isolating and just not reaching out, and not, I mean, at being okay for it, and to really say, hey, I really need the help, and being vulnerable about it.
Yeah,
That is a big killer right there.
literally, absolutely. And I know I can't remember the statistic exactly, but I remember that I always thought it was wild that with suicides, like attempts, it's more like you would see more. It was more common in females, but the success like of the suicide, like the completions, was predominantly male. Is that still the same, or has that changed?
Yeah, I think it's still the same. I think the predominant is just more white male. Middle age. You see more of a higher rate towards that demographic, towards that particular population right there. And the most common for men is lethal, like in terms of using weapons to I mean kill themselves. For females is more pill oriented, overdosing.
Nice. And I mean, that's not nice, but I mean, it's amazing that they have the resources. I mean,
Yeah.
we need to really just share resources more in general, but just having that. confidence to really reach out when you need it. I think it's just needed right now more than ever. I know I've repeated myself quite a few times. But before we do close up tonight, and again, I do apologize. My eyes are just really killing me. But what is something that you would like our viewers to know? Like maybe either some final thoughts or some takeaways that maybe they should take from today.
I would say the most important thing is that it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to be vulnerable and to work through things, and and to ask for help, because I mean the trauma still lives within us. Loss and grief doesn't go away. It's you move along with grief, and so these kind of things needs to be addressed, and that again, it's okay to ask for help. You don't have to suffer in silence.
Mm-hmm.
There's resources out there. There are people, who wants to help you. You can reach out to the Battle Buddy app, and we're here for you. We're all veterans. We're all trained, and we will guide you and walk with you side by side, and to make sure that you get that support. But it's important that you want to be around and know that you're important and that your lives matter and that you matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's always a pleasure having you on. I'm so thankful that you came on and shared some resources. I'd love to have you back on again. And please let us know when your podcast launch so we can actively support you, because it's all about supporting each other, people. We need to be our own best advocates, but we need to support. But we also, if anybody is going to be in the Baton Rouge area on the 11th of March, I will be out there to speak at the Capitol building. I'm pretty excited to join with old Tony Landry and Miss Angie again. So this will be fun. Well, let's hope. It's going to be my dry run before April. I got to wear my blues again. I haven't worn them in 15 years. I think I can't even remember how my ribbon racks go anymore. But at the end of the day, guys, you may be in a situation that it feels like an unwinnable situation. It feels like you're overcome, like a giant tidal wave has come over you and you're just trying to like kick and get to the surface and break through. But keep kicking and be your own best advocate, because truly you are your own best advocate. And it's okay to ask for help. What's not okay is judgment. Like at the end of the day, like we're all human beings and we all go through things. And there's a lot of times that a lot of us do the suck it up buttercup thing when we really could actually reach out, and it can be diminished, and it's not put like to like boil and it's like boiling over at that point. No, like you want to keep it before that time, because it tends to be a lot more problematic and harmful for us as well. But everybody that wants to check out what Donna was talking about, go to the Battle Buddies app in the Google Store or the Apple Store. You can download the app. Again, it is free, and some of our veterans that may be listening that are sufferers of MST or other issues that they're a bit more particular on, just being a female, absolutely speak up. And if anyone is interested in being a counselor, absolutely go to the You Matter Not Alone webpage, and you can absolutely apply at that point. So it's, again, https:// and there's a hyphen after matter and not. But, or before, sorry, I can't talk today. But thank you so much for coming on, Donna, and we will look forward to the launch of your new podcast. Yes, I love it, like seeing people like kind of build and do amazing things. Like I'm weird. Like I love to support our sisters, and I think that's support the behaviors that need to be supported. I always say.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it won't be launching probably the middle of March, going into April. Nice. But yeah, so we're really excited. We just recorded 4 segment of it, but it's on mental health. But one thing I do want to ask is, also to kind of leave the audience with is, also check on your brothers and sisters who are doing well, because sometimes, internally they're not, but they're just holding up the fort.
Yes. Absolutely. Check on your friends, even the strong ones, people. That's message. I mean, because like I said, a lot of times that's the people that look the most together, like you see articles about, beauty queen pageant title holders jumping out of windows, professionals, athletes, like all people that you would think that they have the perfect life. There's a lot of people tell me that, and I get kind of angry because I'm like, first of all, like I do the best with what I have left. My life is wild, and it's not something I'd recommend for anybody, but I try to do my best to empower or inspire or educate wherever I can. And, it's not put together. And a lot of these people that we're seeing in the veteran world or like the political arena or in entertainment, at the end of the day, like it's a lot of pressure, and it's, you can't assume that because a person looks amazing that they've got it all up here, perfect where it should be, because a lot of people, they go through a lot that they don't talk about. We have a lot of invisible struggles and wars that we fight, some battles that we lose, some that we win. But at the end of the day, if we need someone to reach out to, the suck it up buttercup method is just no longer a good method. But I'm going to go ahead and close it up tonight. Thank you again so much, Donna. We truly appreciate your time. And I'll have Aurelia take us away. Take us away now.
Hi, I'm Aurelia. Just a reminder, smash like, hit subscribe, and click the bell. Please give me my mommy some hearts. Yay, victories!
Nah. Aurelia. She has no clue that she's going to go to the White House.
Is that your daughter?
Yeah, that's my daughter. Yep.
And what's her name? Israelia?
Aurelia.
Aurelia. Oh, cute. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Brandy. And so I am so appreciative of the things that you do for our armed forces and our veterans, too.
Yeah. And as we are extremely appreciative of you, and absolutely, guys, we'll have more information out as she does launch her podcast. But if anyone has any questions, go to the Battle Buddies app, go to her webpage, check us out on social media. If you have questions, we have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, like basically all of them. So, reach out to us. And if you have questions, no question is a stupid question. I know I'm going to regret saying that because I deal with a lot of Marines, but at the end of the day, it is to help others and connect with resources. But have a good rest of the night, guys, and we will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.